How to ensure you never, ever lose another listing again. Wouldn't this be nice? My name is Darren Langille. I am the creator of the Reeducation School and all of our resources. Today, I'm going to give you those steps to help you ensure that you never lose another listing, because it doesn't make sense to go through all the work and all the money spent to get a listing and then find out you don't do enough to serve the client, sell the home, and end up with the paycheck. Now, this video might have been intriguing to you because throughout your journey so far as a realtor, and as you've listed homes, things have gone generally pretty well. But over time, with more volume of listings taking, and as the markets soften from seller's market to buyer's market, or even falls flat into the neutral place, listing agents that continue to not only save their listings and get extensions and ultimately get the paycheck at the end of the day, they put into practice things that are not just by default. They're not just by accident. There's intention behind their world. So I'm going to suggest to you that this starts at the very beginning of the entire process. This starts when you're in the listing presentation itself. So this will be step one. Listing presentation. What you need to know is to be a dominant listing agent that provides the client the confidence in you during the good and the bad times, is that when you're guiding this part of the presentation, we want you to ensure that the pricing strategy and the confidence you have in the price and then the client's expectations are all in alignment. What do I mean by this? If you have a listing presentation and you overpromise at the end of the day that the home is going to be sold for X price, and you know in your mind that they need that price, but you know that it's likely going to be pushed lower, you take the listing anyways. Do you think this is a good recipe or one for disaster? So what I mean by this is, on the front end, when you're doing your listing presentation, everybody, we want to ensure the pricing strategy and the ultimate price they're willing to accept does line up with what you envision the property selling for. If there's a gap here, this is where you're going to find problems, and that never losing a listing concept starts to fall flat for you. So right then, alignment. Number two now. Not only do you need the alignment and the understanding that you and your client are on the same path, the same journey towards around the same price, but we need to reinforce this throughout the entire process. So that's what number two is all about. It's the reinforcement of the initial listing presentation's price and strategy, the alignment that you had, the trust you had, the sequence that you're going to take them through, and the confidence that they may be able to adjust their pricing to get to reality. You need to continue to plant that seed throughout the entire process so that it continually reinforces the place that you're looking to lead them, so that as you suggest things like a price change in time, if it hasn't sold right away, doesn't feel like the message is coming out of left field. A lot of agents are nervous to do this, maybe because they didn't start with number one, they didn't plant the seeds, they just got so excited to put the sign on the lawn, and then they also don't have the conversations as you go forward throughout the listing and things are a little bit dicey and not going fully as planned. So how do we do this? How do we do this, and how do we reinforce things along the journey? It's the weekly seller's report. This is a clear commitment that you need to be making to yourself and also to the client. See, the best listing agents on the planet will take a time once per week at least to summarize all the efforts that happened. And they want to put it into, whether it's a video walkthrough a lot of people are doing, or maybe it's an email typed out, or maybe it's a conversation. But this weekly listing report is something so critical so they can continue to have the confidence in you that when things aren't going fully as planned, and as sellers, you kind of have to sit on your hands a little bit waiting for things to come your way. You can do everything you want, but you're kind of a little bit out of control. While they're going through this process, you need to continue to lead by example with that seller's report. What would you put in here? Things like the sales data, any actives that have come up to compare, any pendings that have gone into a contract, any solds that have happened along the way, and then any price changes that has affected your ability to sell. This is critical. We also want to provide the data based on your website, what your on board data stats can provide, or even in Canada, where our case, we can pull up realtor.ca and show member insights. if you do Facebook ads, if you have third-party platforms, if you have landing pages, if you have single property websites, this is your chance to summarize all of the work you're doing and to, again, put it in front of them. You want to do this, well, for one, it's a lot of work, but you want to do this because you continue to reinforce the decision to pick you despite things not going and sold like a heartbeat. Now, the other layer on the weekly sellers report is a summary of all the feedback. The feedback you get from the open houses, the feedback you get if you had to show a buyer directly, the feedback you get from other agents' responses, and you can reiterate any of the automatic feedback that is being pushed to your sellers anyways. Again, summarize it all, make it so easy for them to consume, and have them and train them to expect that message from you on a given weekly basis. Again, no matter how things are going, the goal is to never lose the listing. To never lose the listing requires your persistence and your leadership. Okay, the next stage is the reinforcement of what you are doing over time. And I call this ongoing maintenance, is continuing to serve the goals that they had, which was to sell their house for the most price. And they've hired you to do this out of confidence. So again, never lose a listing. We even have to have this conversation because it's likely your home is sitting on the market. If it's sitting on the market, there's an ongoing maintenance area that I want you to build into your business plan, build into your listing package. What are you going to do when things don't fly off the shelf that you can commit to monetarily and with effort, that over time you can continually reinforce the efforts that you're putting in? This might be traditionally some things like, I will host an open house every 2 weeks. And I will host an open house after we do any price drops, right? I will door knock the home and the home area around it on the first and second open houses to tell the neighbors so that they can be our advocates, right? Socially, what are you going to do on ongoing maintenance? Maybe it is going to be paid lead gen and you're going to cycle a series of paid ads. Maybe you're going to post organically. You're going to do some virtual open houses. You're going to do some live streams, whatever that might be. Digitally, what are you going to do for them as well? Are you going to email people? Are you going to reach out to agents directly? Are you going to send messages to those that have sold or listed homes in the area to see if they have any other buyers looking? Whatever that is, you need to define it. You need to, of course, with integrity, complete it. But you need to let them know as time goes on that you're not just sitting there hoping and praying for the business. Again, the goal is to extend the listing, never lose a listing. Now, there's a simple hack that I use that whenever I'm getting near the end of a listing, I like to jump in on and kind of put like a bit of a full court press on. So 30 days before, I do something called, internally I call it a 60-day summary. So in this case, it would have been a 90-day listing. And 60 days in, if I haven't sold, I do a complete summary of everything that I've done. I talk about the number of views I got on YouTube, the number of Facebook impressions I got on my ad, the number of showings we had, the number of open houses and how many hours and how many people came through, the number of doors knocked, the number of agent conversations I had. And I layer all this together into a 60-day summary that I provide to them. In our case, I've gone ahead and created a fillable PDF branded to my team. And I fill these out pretty quickly with all of the things that I do on a regular basis for my listings. And I present them to them to just show, wow, look at this body of work. Because at this point, they're getting frustrated. At this point, they're unsure maybe if you're the right agent for them anymore, if they need to change plans a little bit. So give them this full court press of effort, reinforcing everything you've done and all the conversations you've had. Now, to follow up though, because there's potentially only 30 days left, we need to give them a next steps action plan. And that would be the follow-up to the 60-day summary. Here's all the information, friends. Seller, look at what I've done for you. We've done a pretty good job, even though I know we haven't sold yet. But the next steps action plan is some version of your launch plan. So usually at this point, there's likely a price reduction looming. You're going to give them all the information. You're going to hopefully convince them to adjust down to market if it hasn't quite sold yet. And then if you do that, what are your next steps? What will you do? Will you rehost another open house? Will you resend things out to the other agents in the community? Will you recirculate it to your brokerage? Will you redo a double open house on the weekends? Will you relaunch plans? What will this be? That's the next steps action plan. I call it my Hail Mary internally because you don't know if you're going to get the listing at the end, but what you want to do is put yourself into a position to ensure you're doing everything you can to hashtag never lose a listing. So at the very end of all this, now that I've given you all these steps, the end of this process, cradle to grave, that you've led through the process, you've reinforced the alignment, you've provided insights along the journey, you've given your old college try, you've summarized the information, you've remarketed things. At this point in time, you can feel very good that you've done everything you could and communicated like a rock star, so that at the end of the day, that you will never lose a listing. They understand you're the right fit for them, and the extension on that listing contract will likely be yours. Hopefully this video will really help you to kind of like iron out the pieces to your listing process that you need to change to ensure that you are that agent that never loses a listing.